What's up guys, Ruppy here bringing you my Week 3 team builder for the A-Drive Army Battle League in the Sinnoh region. Tried to recover there, slept up a bit. Ah well. Anyway, my Columbus Swoo are 2-0 right now, and we're currently sitting at a +9 differential, which is not bad at all. Kind of in second place in our particular division because there's another team that is kind of rampaging, but I will worry about them when the time comes. This week, however, is not necessarily about our respective divisions, conferences, whatever you want to call them. I think they're conferences. Yes, they are conferences. Anyway, this is Inter-Conference Week, and I happen to be playing a team from the Space Conference, which is the other half of the Sinnoh region. Yes, Space and Time, Palkia and Dialga. I know this kind of sounds like it's supposed to be an episode of Doctor Who or something, but just roll with it. Anyway, my opponent this week is the Wiltshire Wartortles, coached by Notorious Pip. They are 0-2, and given the team he's got, I'm actually kind of stunned that is his record. Because, to be perfectly honest, I had a hard time prepping for this game, I'm not gonna lie. Probably because even though maybe he didn't have good matchups in the past week, his team matches up so well against mine that I kind of had to... I took a lot more time than I wanted to trying to prep for this game, because I had like 5 different mons I wanted to bring to fill out a few slots, and I could not settle on any one of them. It was difficult. Anyway, let's get into his team and why it's such a problem for me. Starting off with Latias, his tier 1 pick. The bulkier of the two Lotties, and immediately it's something that my Mega Venusaur is not going to like. My Mega Venusaur, of course, the thing that's kind of been an indestructible wall for the most part. Not so much this time around. He has a lot more threats at his disposal to contend with it. Latias is a big one. Basically, my best bet for trying to deal with Latias, if I have to face it with Mega Venusaur, is to try and one-on-one it after it's fired off a Draco Meteor on something else and gotten the special attack drop. Which, honestly, there's no way in hell he would stay in for that matchup, which is kind of problematic. Latias just hits hard, it tanks hits. It's basically the epitome of a dragon I probably would have liked to have, but I'm fine with the dragons I do have. Next up is Entei. I'm not sure if he's going to bring Entei because he faced the other rain team last week, and lo and behold, it didn't work out for him. He didn't bring Entei to that game. Part of me doubts he's going to bring it to this game, but outside of rain, Entei actually does put a huge strain on my team, because even with Mega Venusaur's thick fat, Sacred Fire and especially Flare Blitz from a Banded set still hit it ridiculously hard. Extreme speed as priority is not something fun I would really like to end up facing. Tripping over my own words, that's what Entei does to me. Entei just hits ridiculously hard. The rain at least would dent Sacred Fire and Flare Blitz, but I don't know. Basically, if he brings Entei, I need to figure out what moves it is running to basically try to figure out how I deal with it. And unfortunately, I don't know how much time I actually have to pull it off, especially if it is a banded set and only reveals one move at a time. Next up is Mimikyu. Oh, Mimikyu, I love you, and in this particular instance, I hate you so much. Mimikyu is a pain. Granted, it really doesn't have a whole lot it can necessarily do to Mega Venusaur, unless he ends up running Ghostly Z, gets a Sword Stance up, and then proceeds to try to fire off a never-ending Nightmare on me. That could be a problem. I didn't even think of that. But the fact that this thing basically gets a free hit because of its disguise, can set up a Sword Stance, and then proceed to try to dent my team, it's not something I necessarily appreciate. Even though I do have the defensive mons some of the defensive mons to tank it, Mimikyu is just something that I'm almost positive he's going to bring because of the number it does on my team outside of Mega Venusaur and potentially type Null. So the sooner I can get that thing's disguise busted, the better I'll be able to deal with it. Next up is Blastoise, which I wouldn't be surprised to see him bring because it is a rapid spinner, it is a form of hazard control. He does have Defog on Latias as well, but he's been more using this thing as a, just to tank hits, spin hazards away, and try to wear things down in general. Plus, last week in his game against the other Rain team, the Mistral Blimps, he ran Rain Dish on it, so I would not be surprised if he tried the same tactic this week, anticipating me bringing Rain as a means of contending with Entei. Exploud. Do I really need to say anything more there? Exploud is relatively slow, but it's a nasty wall breaker. If he actually scarfs it, I'm not in as bad of a position because I've got the mons that can be able to take the hits. Basically, to really be a nuisance to my team from a wall breaking standpoint, his Exploud has to run specs. And considering Exploud's speed tier, I actually do have a lot of things that can go ahead and outspeed it, so Exploud wouldn't be as big of a problem. It's manageable, but I need to keep the situation in my favor when contending with it, is the thing, and I don't know how often I'm going to get that opportunity. Sawk is a mon I'm familiar with. I used to use it a lot back in the NU tier, back during the old black and white days, because it's a nice mon. You can scarf it, it hits really hard from a bandit standpoint. It's got Mold Breaker, which could be a bit of a pain, especially considering, especially when you talk about Titanol's Battle Armor, or even Mega Venusaur's Thick Fat, if he happens to run a Fire Punch on it. Pretty sure Sawk gets Fire Punch. But, there's also a good chance he might run Sturdy just to be able to make sure this thing lives a hit and can fire off maybe a pair of close combats or something along those lines. Sawk hits hard, plain and simple. Wheezing, I'm not too concerned with. Yes, it is a physical wall and an annoying one at that, and it can spread stats throughout my team with Will-O-Wisp, but it's honestly one of the more manageable things on his team compared to everything else I've pretty much run through so far. Mega Aggron, not so much. His team's Mega is one I am very familiar with if you watch any of the videos I managed to put up for Season 1 of the Grand Pokemon League, because this was the Mega I frequently ran in there, as opposed to my other option, which was Mega Sharpedo, because Sharpedo was usually better suited as a speed-boosting sweeper. But anyway, I digress. Mega Aggron is a giant problem. Obviously, it can tank hits for days. Thankfully, it doesn't have a whole lot in the way of recovery, and he, aside from maybe one mon, he really doesn't look like he's got anything that can try to Wish Pass to it, and the mon that could Wish Pass, I really don't think he's going to end up bringing it anyway. Mega Aggron is just a giant tank. Thankfully, from an offensive standpoint, I have the mons to be able to eat hits from it without any problem. It's just going to be a matter of trying to slowly grind the thing down until I can get it out of the picture, really. Raikou, I can almost guarantee he's going to bring just because of the fact that it's an electric mon, and I do have Rain. I'm not as concerned about Raikou because I do have answers to it on my team. It's just a matter of basically what he decides to run with it, but I really don't think Raikou's going to be as big of an issue as it seems on paper. Crocodile, entirely different story. Crocodile is nasty for my team. It is one of the only two mons on his team that could set up Stealth Rocks, though honestly I can see him using this thing from a more offensive standpoint, simply because the Dark-type stab just does not... It's something that a lot of members of my team do not like, especially the knockoffs. Type Null doesn't want EVL Light knocked off. Jirachi really wouldn't want to take a hit from it. The newest mon I actually picked up this week, Claydol. I should actually probably, I'll actually discuss that in a moment after I'm done going through this team. I didn't end up bringing it this week, as you'll see, but I did make a transaction. But Crocodile just hits ridiculously hard. I would not be surprised if he ran Intimidate just to try to lessen some of the things that could come to dent it. But if he runs Moxie, Scarf, and tries to use that to bully me around, that would also kind of be problematic if I can't get that thing taken out right away. But I'm not as... Well, Crocodile's a problem, but I have the mons to be able to take it on if necessary, depending on what it's packing. That's going to be the key thing for me to figure out. Staraptor is a major problem in general. Reckless Raptor just dents my team so hard. It makes me cringe. It doesn't matter if he runs a Scarf set or a Bandit set. That thing just outspeeds and Brave Bird's Mega Venusaur to death without needing to waste any time. The only benefit is it's got a Stealth Rock weakness, and the recoil damage would definitely rack up on it. But basically, if I can try to keep that thing from really getting any major shots into my team and be able to get rid of some of the damage, Staraptor's going to be a little more manageable, but it's going to take some playing around. Leafeon is his last Mon, and the Mon I'm pretty sure gets Wish because I think the entire Eevee line actually gets it. I don't really see him bringing Leafeon just because, yes, I am running Rain, but I also have things that kind of mow down grass types, and I don't think it can really do much to Mega Venusaur as it is, if I do happen to bring it. Leafeon really doesn't do a whole lot in this game as far as I see, but he could surprise me. I have been a bit surprised in the past at some of the Mons that have come to the games I've played. So, yeah, you can see his team. He's got a lot of heavy hitters, and he's got a lot of tanks. Basically, my ideal team. And a team that makes me cringe having to face, because this thing was a nightmare to prep for. This guy being 0-2... yeah, I don't think that record's really going to matter much depending on how he plays this game. I'm really going to have to play flawlessly here and try to maintain momentum in my favorite all times. Basically, more so than the past 2 weeks, kind of try to control the flow of the game from beginning to end and execute my game plan to perfection if I want to try to pull this off. Honestly, to some degree, this kind of feels like Lord Envy versus Gator from Week 1 in the GBA. It definitely kind of shows. And since we're on the topic of Lord Envy, you can probably see my first Mon there. Well, actually, before I get into that, I will go ahead and discuss the transaction I made. It's rare for me to make a transaction, because I usually, whatever team I draft, I like to stick with it. I made an exception this time, because an opportunity presented itself, and I just couldn't look past it. So, before last week, the Minnesota Vikavolt... no, it is not A-Drive, even though this is a league for his subs. He has participated in the past. He's kind of too busy to do it this year, which is understandable considering he's already in 2 other draft format leagues. There is someone else who is waving the Minnesota Vikavolt's banner, though, which is kind of amusing. I don't think he realized... I think he did that before he realized that was the team Dan was going to be running for the NPL. And anyway, or NPA, NPL, whatever. Anyway. So... they dropped Claydol, which is one of the Mons I was looking at in the draft. Now, I know Claydol is not the greatest Mon on the block, but it fills some roles on my team much better than another Mon I did grab. And it's a Mon that I actually kind of haven't really found much justification for in draft format just yet. Standard play? Sure. Draft format? Not so much. So, I ended up picking up Claydol and dropping Archeops. Because Claydol fills the role I needed. Drafted Archeops for much better. And the only reason I really drafted Archeops is because most of the good Rapid Spinners and all their Hazard Setters were kind of off the board already. This actually relieves a bit of pressure I felt was kind of on my team. Because thanks to his Levitate ability, Claydol still has a ground immunity for my team that I don't lose by getting rid of Archeops in this case. It can set up Stealth Rocks, it can Rapid Spin them away so I don't have to rely on Defog if necessary, which is good when I have to contend with some of the teams that might have Defiant users. Or contrary, that could be just as bad. It provides me with another Electric immunity, which takes some of the pressure off of the likes of Jolteon and Lantern, so I don't have to feel like I need to run Volt Absorb every week to be able to contend with a potentially nasty Electric type. It is another Psychic typing, which is bad, since it doubles up that with Jirachi. But the ground type is definitely helpful. Claydol actually does have some nice defenses. I know its offensive stats aren't the greatest, but defensively it's actually not that bad, depending on the matchup. It's basically just, if I bring it, I do have to make sure I'm filling one role with it and not trying to double up on my defenses like some of my other Mons are capable of. It's the thing. I didn't end up bringing Claydol this week. I was heavily considering it, but the calcs kind of rolled against it in hindsight, so I decided to just go ahead and let it go. As far as what I am bringing this week, I mentioned Lord Envy, and the fact, and his game with Gator. That's kind of where Onion comes into play this week, my beloved rain setter. I decided to take a page out of Lord Envy's playbook, if you can believe it. I am running Scarf Pelipper, because I don't think he's gonna expect to see it coming. Honestly, I am gonna kind of need to rain this game, but really it's more, to some degree it's more for, if he brings the Entei, I can catch him off guard by blasting it with a Scald and killing it before it can even do anything to me. I mean, he might expect, if I stay in, he can probably kill it with a Stone Edge, which Banded, he might be able to, depending on the roll. But really, Onion's here basically just to surprise outspeed things with its Scarf, get rain up, and basically just be a general nuisance. Scald and Hurricane definitely accomplish that in the rain, and U-Turn allows me momentum, which might be the key to winning this game. I put Defog on there just to try to get a quick Defog off if I need to get Hazards off the field. I don't know if it's really going to be necessary in hindsight, but the less damage that's racking up on me, the better, especially since one of my plans is going to involve kind of trying to wear his team down. The next mod on my list that I'm bringing this week is Beacon, my Lantern, making its AABL debut. Now, the name is kind of a throwback to, well, it's kind of an homage to the Olivine Beacons, which is my GPL team. And the fact that it's kind of the beacon I want to light the way. I'm running 212 special defense EVs with the boosting nature, 192 defense EVs and 104 HP. Really, this is more so to allow it to really tank hits on the special side without me having to run an Assault Vest. It allows it to better take on Entei as well, if he does bring it. And also contend with a few of his physical mons a little better. Relatively standard-ish setup. Volt Switch for obviously trying to keep momentum in my favor, forming a Volt Turn core. Scald for the burns, especially, and Rain Boosted it could help. Heal Bell to get rid of any status if he tries to play that game with me, which, considering he's got a Wheezing and a Blastoise that's kind of become known for using Toxic on everything, I would prefer not to have that strategy be turned against me, because that's kind of my strategy for this game, because I'm also running Toxic on Lantern. Basically, my general idea is try to Toxic as many things as I can, and in combination with that and a few other moves I'm bringing, wear his team down to the point where I can bring something in safely and clean up in the end. That's basically what this is going to boil down to. Tank hits, wear him down, and then bring in a cleaner. And one mon I think is going to help with that, and potentially might even serve as my cleaner, is Panzer. I'm running the same spread from week 1. Max HP, 104 attack EVs, and Adamant. 76 EVs in both defenses. With the Eviolite, I will be able to tank hits. There are a lot of things that still run into 2-hit KO range, unfortunately, depending on the moves used with this spread. But it allows me to at least tank one hit and potentially be able to fire off something I need in return. I'm running Swords Dance in return again, just to basically try to get the stab off, because if I get at least one Swords Dance up, Panzer can actually one-shot a good majority of his team. A second Swords Dance will guarantee a one-shot on just about everything, barring maybe the Blastoise, the Wheezing, and the Mega Aggron, which I wasn't necessarily planning on trying to hit with returns to begin with. I wasn't planning on leaving Panzer in. Instead of running Sleep Talk, however, I didn't opt to drop Sleep Talk this week because of the fact that it kind of nearly screwed me over last week. Thanks, Sleep Talk rolls. Stupid RNG. But more so because I felt that coverage was needed this time around. Because, honestly, without a Swords Dance, one Iron Head will one-shot Mimikyu. And I don't want Panzer getting walled by Mimikyu, especially since it's honestly probably the best thing I have to contend with Mimikyu, because with the Eviolite, all he could be able to hit me with that thing is Play Rough. And as long as I got my Eviolite, Panzer can eat Play Roughs for days. I can break its disguise, Iron Head can wipe it out, and that'll take a lot of pressure off my team in trying to constantly switch around to get that thing off the field once and for all. So that's really why I'm going with Ironhead and not running Sleep Talk again this week. The split defenses are hopefully going to work to my advantage. They do allow me to tank hits from both sides pretty well, and I can rest off the damage. I'm not as concerned with, I'm not as concerned with rest and not Sleep Talking this week, because Panzer can tank the hits I need it to, and if I really need to get rid of the sleep condition, as long as Beacon's around, I can just heal bell the sleep status away and be done with it. Moving on, I did decide to bring Herbivore this week. Pretty much the same one I've been bringing, because defensive Mega Venusaur is just a nightmare of a tank to deal with. Giga Drain, Sludge Bomb, and Synthesis are making a return. Instead of HP Fire, I'm running Leech Seed this week, and I'm going to tell you why. The only thing that I would really need HP Fire for is Mega Aggron. And to be perfectly honest, HP Fire does pretty much nothing to that thing, depending on how much special bulk he puts into it, along with that thing's already massive physical bulk that it doesn't even need defense EVs to boost. So I figured, if HP Fire isn't doing much to Mega Aggron, and the only other thing I would really need it for, Leafeon, pretty much goes down to a pair of Sludge Bombs anyway, why not try something to try to join up with Toxic in wearing everything down? Leech Seed, I feel, is going to help sustain Herbivore's longevity in this game, because I can Leech Seed threats so they aren't as big of an issue, to slowly grind them down, allow Mega Venusaur to take hits a little better because it's getting that extra health back, almost like Leftovers recovery. And if I Leech Seed a Toxic Mon, then that's just going to wear them down twice as fast, and get them in the position I need them to in order to clean up later. I was really hesitant to bring Herbivore to this game because he has the threats needed to basically take it out. Latias does 2-shot with both Draco. It does 2-shot with Psyshock. Draco Meteor could be a 2-hit KO as well if it wasn't for the special attack drop. Entei 2-shots with both Flare Blitz and Sacred Fire outside of Rain, even despite the Thick Fat. Bex Exploud actually 2-hit KOs with Boom Burst. Why Exploud? Just why? And I've already basically explained why Staraptor is kind of the bane of my existence in this game. But if I can get Leech Seeds off on things and basically help wear his mons down, I think that's the main role Herbivore is going to play. Tanking what it needs to, and trying to help wear down everything else, basically. Next up, good old Mabel's coming back to join the fun. Running a bit of an interesting set this week. The EVs, I once again have to thank Lord Envy for. This is an EV spread he ran in one of his GBA games from Season 6 when he had Jirachi. 228 HP EVs, 104 in defense, 156 in special defense, and 20 in speed. This is the EV spread I need to make sure I can tank the hit. Mabel can tank the hits it needs to, get some recovery back with leftovers. Ironhead is basically Ironhead. With Serene Grace, it gives me a 60% chance to flinch, which could be really helpful on certain things. And also, it just, Mimikyu does not want to take it in general. U-turn, obviously, to pivot out as necessary. Stealth Rocks are going to be key in joining Toxic and Mega Venusaur's Leech Seed to be able to help wear his team down. Especially if I can get that Blastoise out of the picture so it doesn't spin the rocks away. And obviously I put Toxic on there. I was considering Fire Punch, so that way in a 1v1, Mabel had a better chance of beating Mega Aggron. But I'm not expecting us to have to get to that point. And if we somehow do get there, maybe I guess I'll just have to bite the bullet and rely on Ironhead flinches to wear that thing down. Especially since I've got Leftovers recovery in my favor. And just kind of go from there, I guess. But Mabel is basically another part of my plan, joining Beacon and Herbivore in just setting the stage to wear things down for who I'm thinking is going to be the real star of the show this week. Yup, I'm bringing it. At long last, making its AABL debut, Purple Rain, my Kingdra. I know that's not how the song actually goes, but rest in peace, Prince. Anyway, Purple Rain, basically, I think really that's all that needs to be said. Surf, Draco, Flash Cannon, Ice Beam are what I'm going with moveset-wise. I'm running specs on it. Swift Swim allows it to abuse the rain, even if I'm only going with 5 turns. I think that's honestly going to be more than enough, because if I let Pelipper go down at some point and can get the full 5 turns of rain, Purple Rain can just come in and, depending on what he's got left, abuse the specs to pretty much do one of 2 things. Either be a revenge killer, or basically clean up, if everything is low enough. Because with specs, in the rain, Surf just does a tremendous amount to almost everything. Draco Meteor, obviously. Latias gets annihilated by it. A lot of mons actually get annihilated by it that would resist Surf. The -2 to special attack would suck, but I do have the choice specs to semi-nullify that for at least one more Draco. Flash Cannon's really only there for the Mimikyu, just because, if I can get the Disguise broken and be able to get Purple Rain in safely, then I can just wipe the thing out with a Flash Cannon. Surf would do the job too, but I wanted to make absolutely sure I had all my options in order, especially if I can catch that thing on the way in with a Flash Cannon if he expects a Draco Meteor, to basically catch him off guard and hopefully take Mimikyu out of the picture early enough. Ice Beam really doesn't have any specific use here because Draco Meteor does so much more to Latias, and honestly, even most Staraptor and Leafeon are taken out by Draco Meteor. Surf would take out Staraptor, as a matter of fact. But I threw it on there anyway, just to be on the safe side. Maybe it can allow me to save some PP on Surf and Draco in the long run. Maybe allow me a safe shot at one of the mons if I think it's coming in, as opposed to Draco Meteor. So I'm not just having to take the -2 special attack drop right out of the gate and then having to switch out. So that's basically the only reason I put Ice Beam there. It doesn't necessarily one-shot anything, even with the specs, even though I am running modest max special attack Kingdra. But it does a good enough amount of damage that a second Ice Beam would definitely kill a lot of things. And otherwise, it's just a safe shot on plenty of things. So that's the team I'm going with this week. I'm a little iffy on it, to be perfectly honest. But I'm going to go into this game trying to stay positive, and hopefully the matchup will work in my favor. Maybe I'll get lucky and he won't bring some of the things I think he will. But we'll see how it plays out. So thank you guys so very much for watching. I've been Ruppy, and I will see you guys next time when we see if my Columbus Swoo can improve to 3-0 against this very formidable team, regardless of their record. Take care, guys.